Good morning to one and all present here. Today we are going to discuss Nectar in a Sieve by Kamala Markandaya. So Kamala Markandaya, she is a voice of Indian post-colonial literature, we can say. Her first novel, Nectar in a Sieve, which was published in the year 1954, focused on the themes of poverty, colonial legacy and modernization. Post-colonialism, as we have discussed, it is an impact and aftermath of colonial rule on colonized societies. It reflects the post-colonial concerns through its character, setting and narrative. Kamala Markandaya, she was born in the year 1924 and in a small town near Mysore. And she had her education at Madras University and later she settled in UK. So, as an immigrant writer, she focused or she bridged the gap, we can say, between Eastern and Western culture through her writings. As you all know, Kamala Markandaya, she was born in India. The themes she has dealt in her novels focus on the cultural conflict that Indian faced during colonialism and also how people adopt to the modernity, that is the conflict that arises between tradition and modernity, and how the rural and urban division. So it is the Nectar in a Sea, we can say it is a debut novel which focus widely on the studies of post-colonial undertones. So talking about the summary of the novel, Rukmani, she is the protagonist and she comes from a very headman of the family, and she marries a poor tenant farmer Nathan at the age of 12, and her struggle throughout her life and his family, how it suffered during the colonial rule. These are the major concerns of this novel. The events, we can say, marriage, birth of children, arrival of tannery, famine and displacement. So these are the major events that takes place in the novel. The novel which shows the disruption or distraction, or we can say how it affected the traditional agricultural life by, it was affected by a tannery, and tannery is a representation of colonial influenced industrialization or modernization. So understanding post-colonialism, what is post-colonialism? Okay, post-colonialism talks about the impact of colonialism or aftermath of colonialism and how it affected the cultural, political and economic background of the country. So here in this novel, Kamala Markandaya has discussed on hybridity, that is the mixture of culture, that is Western culture as well as the Eastern culture. Mimicry, that is colonized society mimicking the colonizers, and also the subaltern literature, that is a voiceless, oppressed group of people. That is, India gained independence in the year 1947, as we all know, but colonial legacies or the effects of colonialism still persisted, especially in the economic background. So, what is colonial legacy in the novel? We can see. So, land tenure system and economic hardships are rooted in the colonial administration. So peasants like Rukmani and her husband Nathan, they become powerless because they are tenant farmers. They are economically dependent on the farmland. So the novel focus on the effect of British colonial and economic structures. So industrialization, in the name of modernization, a tannery was established in their village, which symbolizes the forward driven industrialization. So this affects the life of a village people. The in background of noise, pollution, inflation, and job competition. So the employees of this tannery, they are exploited cheap laborers, we can say, and also they are uncontrolled. They come under the uncontrolled modernization. So another theme that has been dealt by Kamala Markandaya is identity and hybridity. So the characters they experience a socio-economic change. So Rukmani she wants to preserve the cultural identity among this transformation, and this narrative reveals hybridity as villages, and they want to adopt new realities, but they also do deeply rooted in the tradition. So, gender resistance and survival. Despite so many sufferings that Rukmani undergo, she has a faith and also she survives in the form of post-colonial resistance. The language and narrative used by Kamala Markandaya in this novel are the reflection of colonial linguistic legacy, and this lyrical language it mirrors the Indian storytelling tradition, and she blends the post-colonial hybridity in the novel. So nature and land plays a very important role in this novel. People are very deeply or connected to their land. It symbolizes their autonomy if their land was confiscated by the Britishers. So, coming to the conclusion of this novel, we find that there is a nuanced exploration of post colonial India, and she also captures the impact of colonialism on economic, culture, and identity crises that arise in the people. And also, the novel focuses on the themes of displacement, and Rukmani's story is both personal and political. So Kamala Markandaya has beautifully picturized these themes in her novel. Thank you.